I welcome our new AI overlords and look forward to how they can help humanity evolve to the next step.
Now that that's out of the way, let me talk a little bit about the AI claims consulting and claims assisting companies that I see out there. I think that there's a lot of promise here, but I also think that there's a lot of danger. Now, if you've been in this space for a little while, trying to get your benefits sorted out or helping others get their benefits sorted out, you may have turned to things like Chat GPT to do some research. Or you may have even seen companies out there that have developed AI tools specifically geared towards helping veterans sort out their claims. Personally, I think this is really neat. I do have a little bit of a problem with these companies charging a fee for these services because I do believe that it potentially runs afoul of some of the provisions on when you can charge a fee for claims assistance. But I'm going to put that aside for a moment because I know that's a hot topic. And quite frankly, there's some legal challenges ongoing to that. And the law really wasn't even designed with AI in mind. So let's just put that aside. First of all, I think AI is incredibly promising. I'm going to give you an analogy though. In the right hands, AI is an incredibly powerful tool, but in the wrong hands, it can be incredibly dangerous. And we don't even know how dangerous it can be. The analogy I like to use is that AI is kind of like one of those e-bikes that people are riding these days. It's not just for hipsters anymore. You can find pedal assist electronic e-bikes in every store, and lots of people are buying them to dart around the city or just help them when they're out riding because those hills are brutal. An e-bike, just like a regular bike, you have to operate. Right? Now, granted, the e-bike, when you hop on, it's going to get you to your destination probably a little faster. You're going to be less tired, certainly less sweaty, and you're going to have more energy when you get there. It's a great tool, but you still have to steer, you still have to pedal, you still have to balance, and you still have to direct it where to go. And this is what AI is. AI can be an incredibly powerful tool to help those with some understanding of the field get to where they need to go faster by cutting out some of the steps in research that you would have to otherwise do yourself. So let's talk about what these veterans-focused AI companies do. A lot of them will help draft nexus letters. They will help veterans draft up statements in support of claim, lay statements, buddy statements, etc. They can help figure out what specific conditions to apply for, making sure that we're capturing all of the secondary conditions and symptoms of all these conditions. So there are a lot of really great things that can be done with these tools, but it's a little bit problematic and a little bit of a false promise. Let's talk about the nexus letter. Some of these documents, some of these AI tools will claim to be able to write nexus letters, and all you got to do is take that nexus letter to your primary care doctor and have them sign it. But the problem is, realistically, is that even after the doctor signs it, that letter might not have all that much weight to it because the doctor has to attest that they have reviewed your claims file or your service records, or again, they have to have an adequate basis in the facts and evidence of your case. It's not just whether or not they are treating you. Now, sometimes these nexus letters can be great. For instance, if you're taking medication for your hypertension that's a diuretic and making you go pee 5 times a night, well, guess what? Your doctor who has prescribed you that hypertensive medication knows full well that that's the case. But if we're talking about like a toxic exposure or something else having to do that requires a review of the claims file, again, these nexus letters are a little bit tricky because the doctor has to attest that they've reviewed something that they may or may not have reviewed. And that's a little bit of a problem. So again, it's promising because it can work in certain circumstances. Another thing that these AI companies can do allegedly is help write buddy letters and statements in support of claim. Now, I get it. Not everybody's a great writer. And writing can be difficult. It's why there are professional writers out there, right? Some of these AI tools can really help draw out the facts and the evidence that's necessary for your particular claim or your particular situation. But at the same time, you want to make sure that these statements are your statements and your words. So you got to be really careful when an AI tool spits out one of these letters that it's accurate and it truly reflects what you intended to say. If it's not what you intended to say, you shouldn't sign it. It needs to be what you, the veteran, intended to say because it has your signature on it. I've also seen these AI tools claim to be able to review rating decision letters and advise on whether to file a supplemental claim or something else. This is incredibly dangerous. quite frankly, because the rating decision letter themselves are not accurate. And I'll say this again, and people may not believe me, but the rating decision letters themselves are not an accurate reflection of what's going on in the claims file. I read these letters multiple times a day, and then I compare them to what's going on in the claims file, and they often directly contradict what's in the claims file itself. They're cut and paste, they are auto-generated in many circumstances, it's a lot of boilerplate language, and sometimes they even contradict themselves. So if you feed this tool into the AI is just going to have that rating decision letter to go off of. And it can't possibly give you accurate advice because it doesn't have the full picture of what's going on in your case. It hasn't reviewed the underlying claim and pension exams. It doesn't even really know what evidence is in the file because guess what? That evidence listed that's at the top of your rating decision letter, that's not always accurate. I've seen it happen a couple of times just this last month where we've submitted evidence with a supplemental claim, and when we get a decision back 2-3 months later, the evidence we submitted, not even listed. I see it in VBMS. I know it's in there. I can check on it in Quick Submit. It definitely got uploaded. But for some reason, it wasn't identified when the RVSR or whoever wrote that or put together that decision letter. So again, just because you feed this document, it's an inaccurate document to begin with, or often an inaccurate document to begin with, into the AI doesn't mean you're going to get a good or correct answer. In order to make a correct decision on what the next steps are for your claim, you have to review the underlying claims file. This has always been the case. It's been even more the case since the Appeals Modernization Act. It's why when a veteran calls my office and asks to do an intake and starts asking me questions about what can be done, I say, I don't know. I can't help you until I review the claims file and know what mistakes the VA actually made and what's actually in the file. Because sometimes the answer to the problem is actually already in the file. We just need another set of eyes, perhaps a higher level review or a board appeal, to actually review and scrutinize what is going on. It's very difficult to rely on these. Now, I do think, by the way, these AI companies have huge promise if they work together with veteran service organizations or accredited agents or attorneys to really figure out what's in a file and to help these professionals figure out what's going on. Now, I do think they're probably better than claims consultants. They're certainly a lot less expensive, but these claims consultants, unaccredited claims consultants who are also not reviewing your claims file, well, they're going to charge you $15,000 or more to do something that an AI agent or an AI organization, whatever these companies are, can do for way less expensive, way less money, right? Yeah, they're better than a claims consultant, and yeah, there's potential there, but again, you have to know the limitations of this AI. And I can give you some more examples, right? Lawyers have used Chat GPT to write briefs and memoranda for court. And when they get to court, it turns out that the AI straight up hallucinated and made up cases that didn't exist. And these lawyers have gotten in huge amounts of trouble. It's because the lawyers didn't understand the limitations of this particular tool. Again, it's just like the e-bike. If you don't steer it, you will crash. AI, I think it's incredibly useful, but you have to pair it with a full depth of knowledge of what's going on inside the claims file. You have to pair it with somebody who really understands what's going on and how the VA works on a day-to-day basis, not just what the CFR says, not just what the M21 says, but how the VA actually functions and how the people at the VA actually function on a day-to-day basis. And that's why I think it's super important that if you don't have success on your own, that it's to work with a veteran service organization or an accredited agent or attorney. Again, I understand not all VSOs are going to, they have their problems too, agents and attorneys, nobody's perfect, but I've now had a number of clients come to me who've been assisted by these AI agents or these AI companies, and I'm looking at them and they're just missing the mark and potentially dragging out their claim for years beyond what should have happened, and sometimes even jeopardizing back pay and benefits because the AI took something that seemed to be the right answer, but didn't take into account the review of the claims file that was required to really get the correct answer ultimately, and didn't know about, for instance, how the VA screws up processing reserve issues and National Guard issues. Again, that's a whole other topic. Buyer beware, understand the limitations of these companies, understand the limitations of these tools. They can be incredibly valuable, but nothing beats a good review of the claims file to understand what the evidence means, understand what's in there, and understand what you have to do next. If your claim has been denied by the VA, or if you've been underrated, or if you need help in that regard, please reach out and let's see what we can do, or reach out to another attorney or agent. That's fine as well. But again, there are people out there to help you if you are on your own. Until next time, take care.